Let us move to respiration. The process of release of energy from the assimilated food is called respiration. Depending on availability of oxygen, respiration is of two types: aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration occurs in the presence of oxygen, while anaerobic respiration occurs in the absence of oxygen. Respiration is a complex process which involves two distinct phases: breathing and cellular respiration. Breathing or external respiration. Breathing involves movement which brings the air into the lungs and expels the air containing more of carbon dioxide from the lungs to the outer environment. Exchange of gases in and out of the blood also takes place simultaneously. Cellular or internal respiration takes place in the mitochondria of the cells to release energy in the form of ATP. Let us learn about breathing or external respiration. External respiration is a physical process. It involves taking in oxygen-rich air, absorption of oxygen from it, and giving out air containing more carbon dioxide with the help of respiratory organs. Exchange of gases in animals. A great variety is seen in animals with respect to their organs of respiration. Example: gills, lungs, skin, etc. Exchange of gases in aquatic animals. Activity. Observe the movement of mouth of fish in an aquarium. Observe the gill slits too. Are the timings of the opening and closing of the mouth and gill slits coordinated? Yes, the timings of the opening and closing of the mouth and gill slits are well coordinated. An animal living in water uses oxygen dissolved in water. The solubility of oxygen in water is much lower, so the amount of oxygen available is much lesser than air. Hence, the rate of breathing is faster in aquatic animals. Fish take in water through the mouth and release it over the gills. Gills are the site for the uptake of dissolved oxygen into the blood by diffusion. Exchange of gases in terrestrial animals. Terrestrial animals take up oxygen from the air. The respiratory organs in different animals are different, but process of diffusion is common. These organs have special structures which increase the surface area that is in contact with the oxygen-rich atmosphere. But these structures are delicate, so are placed within the body. A special passage takes the air to these structures. Let us now study about the respiratory tract or breathing tract. The human respiratory tract starts with the nostrils. The air passing through the nostrils is filtered by the fine hair that lines the passage. It also becomes moist and warm. The dust particles are trapped in the mucus. The respiratory tract includes external nostrils, pharynx, larynx, and trachea. The trachea, or the windpipe, is divided into two bronchi, one of which enters the right lung and the other the left lung. Though conventionally called as respiratory tract, this tract carries out only breathing part of respiration, so we can also call it as breathing tract. Same applies to the respiratory organs. Respiratory organs or breathing organs. The respiratory organs are the lungs, which lie in the thoracic cavity on both sides of the heart. Within each lung, the major bronchus divides into two bronchi and further into smaller and smaller bronchioles, which finally terminate into balloon-like structures called alveoli, meaning cavity in Latin. Alveoli provide the surface for exchange of gases. The thin walls of the alveoli are closely surrounded by a network of blood capillaries. The hemoglobin present in the RBCs of the blood absorbs the oxygen from the air present in the alveoli through the thin walls of the capillaries. At the same time, Carbon dioxide is released into the alveoli by diffusion, which goes out of the body when we breathe out air. The oxygen is carried to all the tissues of the body which are deficient in oxygen. If the alveolar surface of lungs is spread out, it will cover about 80 meter square area. If hemoglobin was absent, and oxygen would have to move only by diffusion from lungs to toes, it would take 3 years for the oxygen to reach to the toes from the lungs. Let us look at this activity. Observe the experimental setup. What will happen when the elastic diaphragm is pulled down? The balloons will swell. Why do the balloons swell? The air will get filled in the balloons. Why do they flatten when we release the diaphragm back? The air in the balloons will be released. The same mechanism of breathing in human beings is observed. Inhalation. When the muscular diaphragm of the body relaxes, volume of the thoracic cavity increases and air pressure inside the cavity decreases. The air from outside enters the lungs through the nostrils and the alveolar sacs and are filled with air rich in oxygen. Exhalation. When the diaphragm contracts or becomes convex, the thoracic cavity decreases in volume. Lungs come to their original size, forcing the air outside the lungs through the same path but in the opposite direction. A human adult at rest on average breathes about 12 to 20 times per minute, that is 28,800 times per day. Students, always remember, keep your lungs healthy. Don't smoke. Don't expose yourself to the tobacco smoke given out by cigarette smokers. Avoid being a passive smoker. Now let us look how exchange of gases in plants takes place. Plants are stationary, so their energy requirement is less and the process of respiration is slower as compared to that of the animals. The process involves exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen. Plants do not have a special respiratory organ and there is very little transport of gases from one part of the plant to another. They have the source of oxygen in their own body as oxygen is released during the process of photosynthesis. Large intercellular spaces ensure that all the cells are in contact with the air that enters through the stomatal opening. All parts of the plant, like root, stem and leaf, perform respiration. The gases are exchanged by the process of diffusion. During the daytime, photosynthesis and respiration go on simultaneously in the plant. The carbon dioxide released during respiration is utilized for photosynthesis and more oxygen is released. At night, when there is no photosynthesis, only respiration goes on and more carbon dioxide is eliminated. Stoma of a tomato leaf as seen under an electron microscope. Let us study about the cellular respiration or internal respiration. Cellular respiration is a biochemical process in which the simple nutrients like glucose are oxidized within the cells to release energy. This process takes place in the mitochondria of the cells and involves a series of biochemical reactions. The process of cellular respiration varies greatly in different organisms, yet the first step is common in all. The 6-carbon molecule C6H12O6 is broken down in the cytoplasm into a 3-carbon molecule called pyruvate. This process is anaerobic and is called as glycolysis. The energy released during cellular respiration is immediately used to synthesize ATP, which is used to fuel all other activities in the cell. The energy released during aerobic respiration is more than the energy released during anaerobic respiration. Few intestinal parasites like liver fluke, tapeworm, and roundworm respire anaerobically because they live in environments which have less amount of oxygen. Certain cells, such as mammalian RBCs, carry out only anaerobic respiration because mitochondria are absent in them. Let us look at this activity. Take some fruit juice or sugar solution in a test tube. Add some yeast to it. Fit the test tube with a one-holed cork having a bent glass tube fitted in it. Dip the free end of the glass tube into a test tube containing freshly prepared lime water. What is the change observed in lime water? We can observe that the fruit juice slowly gets transported to the test tube containing lime water.